Okay, so good morning, everyone. I'm Monzolin, and I am going to discuss the story of Jack London entitled To Build a Fire. So before we proceed to our discussion, let's have an objective first. At the end of the lesson, the students will be able to discuss the story of Jack London to build a fire, identify the situations in the given story, and discover new things in the story. So let's proceed to our activity. So our activity will be called Traveling Concerns. Being alone in the wilderness raises lots of concerns. In what order would you look to satisfy your survival need? Food, water, fire, shelter. So which is the most urgent and why? So Miss Antepasta, can you answer these activity?
Good morning rather. Am I audible?
Yes, Miss.
Okay, thank you. In order for me to satisfy my survival needs, so I will the most urgent for me is to build a fire first because it is good to distract harmful animals, especially when a person or when I am in the middle of the forest. That's all po. Thank you.
Okay, Miss, let's have our analysis.
Hello, miss. We can't hear you po.
Okay, so am I audible? Sorry, nawala akong signal
Yes, you
class.
are.
Okay, so let's have our analysis. First, what person or thing would you miss the most from home? Miss Antapasta, can you answer this question?
Okay, one thing that I would miss from home is the feeling of being comfortable because when you are in your home, then you will not worry on the things such as the problems of what you should eat in the middle of the forest because you are inside your comfortable home.
Okay, thank you, Miss Antapasta. So number two, what is your most comforting item and why? Okay, Miss Sumalino, go ahead.
For me, no, the most comforting item that I have is my pillow because it gives me comfort, especially when I sleep. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Miss Antapasta and Miss Sumalino. So let's have our discussion. Okay, so Jack London, 1876 to 1916, Bay Area native born in SF. He was the first American writer to become a millionaire. 1897 took off to prospect for Yukon Territory in northwestern Canada. His own adventures in the frozen area were the basis for many of his own stories. So next, so this is the summary of the story to build a fire. So Miss Antapasta, can you read the text if you want? Okay, so gamay. Ako na lang. Okay, so A man travels in the Yukon near the border of current-day Alaska on an extremely cold morning with a husky wolf dog. The cold does not faze the man, a newcomer to the Yukon who plans to meet his friends by 6 o'clock at an old claim. As it grows colder, he realizes his unprotected cheekbones will freeze, but he does not pay it much attention. He walks along a creek trail, mindful of the dangerous concealed springs. Even getting wet feet on such a cold day is extremely dangerous. He stops for lunch and builds a fire. Okay, so the man continues on and, in a seemingly safe spot, falls through the snow and wets himself up to his shins. He curses his luck, starting a fire and drying his footgear will delay him at least an hour. His feet and fingers are numbed, but he starts the fire. He remembers the old-timer from Sulphur Creek who had warned him that no one should travel in the cloud light alone when the temperature was 50 degrees below zero. The man is scared and sets himself to build a new fire. Aware that he is already going to lose a few toes from frostbite, he gathers twigs and grasses, his fingers numbed and nearly lifeless. He unsuccessfully attempts to light a match. He grabs all his matches, 70, and lights them simultaneously, then sets fire for a piece of bark. He then starts the fire, but in trying to protect it from pieces of moss, it soon goes out. So the man decides to kill the dog and puts his hands inside its warm body to restore his circulation. He calls out to the dog, but something fearful and strange in his voice frightens the dog. The dog finally comes forward and the man grabs it in his arms. But he cannot kill the dog, since he's unable to pull out his knife or even throttle the animal. He lets it go. The man realizes that frostbite is now a less worrisome prospect than death. He panics and runs along the creek trail, trying to restore circulation, the dog at his heels. But his endurance gives out, and finally he falls and cannot rise. He fights against the thought of his body freezing, but it is too powerful a vision, and he runs again. He falls again and makes one last panic run and falls once more. He decides he should meet death in a more dignified manner. He imagines his friends fighting his body tomorrow. So the man falls off into a comfortable sleep. The dog does not understand why the man is sitting in the snow like that without making a fire. As the night comes, it comes closer and detects death in the man's scent. It runs away in the direction of the camp, where were the other food providers and fire providers. So that's the summary of the story to build a fire. So next, for the general information, the unnamed protagonist is presented being too confident and often unaware of his frailty. As the harshness of nature surrounds him, he becomes more aware about the folly of this thinking. For the setting, the action takes place in Alaska as an unnamed man tries to make his way along the Yukon Trail. So the story's setting is important in that the story unfolds during a time of extreme cold. The story describes 75 below zero temperatures and a sun that is seldom seen. For the summary and for the plot overview, an unnamed protagonist and his dog ignore advice and make a trek on the Yukon Trail and below freezing temperatures. The protagonist, walking at a brisk pace, hopes to meet the boys at camp in 4 hours' time. So for the literary focus, we have here the foreshadowing. London gives subtle clue throughout the narrative pointing to future points of danger in the cold conditions. Next is the symbolism. London intentionally does not tell the reader protagonist's name, so he is a symbolic of any man and any man struggling against forces outside of this control. So for the point of view, the third person omniscient narration offers the reader three distinct views. First is that of an uncaring and untouched observer. Is that insight into the thoughts of his companion, which is the dog. Okay, so for the style, it is the naturalism and realism. For naturalism, humans were often subjects to natural forces beyond their control. He was strongly influenced by Charles Darwin's theories of natural selection and survival of the fetus. Sorry. So for the realism, stories were painfully realistic. For the themes and focus, and and will continue to survive long after man died. Hello, madungog ko.
Yes, me.
Okay, sorry, nawala kong signal. So, asan ako dapit ato?
Sa theme and focus, man guro me.
Okay, so start sa themes and focus. So, themes and focus, mass insignificance, nature is unfeeling and responsive and will continue to survive long after man died. For the nature's power, a seemingly skilled, intelligent protagonist quickly finds himself in dire circumstances and instinct over reason. As the story progresses, the man's ability to reason becomes of less value than his dog's ability to rely on its instinct. And lastly, natural selection and the survival of the fittest, which is the man is not made to survive in the elements presented in the story. So next, we have here the character analysis. So can somebody read the text? Okay, Miss Sumalino, go ahead.
Character analysis. Prospector. Confidence or a fault, it is the prospector's own sense of invulnerability that puts him in dangerous situations. His personality and thoughts are altered drastically as his situation worsens. The dog relies solely on his sense of instinct and survival. The dog is able to detect subtle clues of danger that his master cannot. He is better suited for the cold condition that his human counterpart.
Okay, so thank you for that, Miss Sumalino. So let's have our application. As you already know, the story of London. Okay, so for our application, how would you describe the man in London's story? So, Miss Sumalino, can you answer the 3 questions na lang? Hello?
Hello, Miss. Number one is that the man in the London story is that he is a worse man.
Yeah. So number two, how
Adam,
experienced and
So number two, how
well
experienced
prepared
and
for this journey is the man.
well prepared for this journey is the man.
Miss Sumalinog. Hello? Hello? Hello, madungog pa ko?
yes, Miss.
Miss Sumalinog, can you answer the two and the third one na lang for that?
Pardon, Miss.
Can you answer the second and the third one?
I think, Miss, I just can answer the third one po.
Okay, go ahead. Sa third na lang.
For me, Miss, the map or a guide is a handy to have because it will guide.
Okay. Thank you for that, Miss Sumalinog. So let's proceed to our assessment. Okay, so get ready to discover. The teacher will break the students into four groups of 4 to 5. Each group will take a topic to research on the internet. We will spend the rest of class today and the next 2 days researching and preparing to share what you have discovered with your classmates. So for our assignment, find as much information as you can in 2 days. You will present your findings to class. You may use means to display and present your information. So you need to be creative. So for the assignment topics, we have here the author, which is the Jack London, the Yukon Territory, frostbite, hypothermia, wilderness survival, emergency preparedness, and snow travel. So thank you for listening, everyone. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you, Miss.